This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs the Playbook, and I have Rick Mirza. He's the CEO of Daulat and an ultra entrepreneur. He has invested in businesses ranging from wireless retail, so we have that in common, to international hotels to tech startups. He parallels me, except for he has much more experience in business crisis management, which is a perfect, poignant issue to start with because I think so many businesses are in the mode of crisis management.
Absolutely.
What does that mean to you, business crisis management, Rick?
Crisis management to me means what we went through during the first recession. I was very young, had no experience going through a crisis, and it was a crisis that it wasn't just me or our industry; it was worldwide. So learning from that crisis, I learned there are ways to be able to navigate through these crises or crises, and be able to come out on top if you are able to be nimble, keep your head on a swivel, and always learn from your experiences, and better yet, learn from others' experiences. So that's been my very big, I would say, blessing, is being able to find experiences that others have gone through and take key notes from those that, hey, don't do this. They did this, it didn't work out. I'm nobody special in that regard. So let's find a better way. Let's not try to reinvent the wheel when there's a perfect way to be able to do this. Especially during crisis management, you want to listen to those that have gone through 2, 3, 4 decades of being able to navigate through recessions and market currents changing, and there's pretty smart people out there. So advice is important, and even more important when you take it.
And I think that advice by itself, I needed when I was younger. I still need today at 52 of radical humility. Knowing we don't know what we don't know. I love the internet and technology for one reason, is it really allows us to have the perspective of there's a billion different variables out there. So how could I know the truth, right? How could I know what to do? And the only way is to gain the knowledge of people who have gathered the information over 30 or 40 years. And most young people don't have that humility. I did not. And what makes it worse, and you've had great success at a young age, is when you're successful at a young age, it's even worse because then we start lying to ourselves that we actually know what we're doing.
Right.
What are some of the pieces of advice that you give? I know you have a book called The 10 Things Not to Invest In, but what are some of the advice in that book that are related to humility and knowing what we don't know?
Well, knowing the biggest takeaway from knowing we don't know what we don't know is you're not going to ever be in a position where you should be able to say at least that I know everything, right? What drives me every day is being able to learn something new every day. Be it learn it by myself, learn it from somebody, be it a mentor, be it reading a book and somebody's experience in that book. But for me, it's always been. You have to go out there and hunt for knowledge. You have to hunt for experienced people that are far wiser than you, far more experienced than you, and have gone through things that you haven't gone through, right? So one success doesn't mean, like an artist that does a song and it blows up out of nowhere. They shouldn't take the foot off the gas. They should be in the studio, hours and hours and hours, wee hours into the morning to be able to have another successful record drop and another one. And you see that with the greats; they're always in the studio. Same for artists that paint, same for artists that produce other art, be it in business. For me, it's an art, being able to just have the grind, the work ethic to be able to put in, learning from others' experiences. So working smart rather than working just hard.
And part of that working smart is how we deal with what I call pain, right? Mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, and financial pain. Others call it mistakes, failures, etc. We don't have as many failures when we're younger. It gets much easier and easier to deal with it. How do you deal with pain and failure and mistakes?
Being able to take something away from them. Everybody's going to go through in their life, be it if they're in business for themselves or others, or just working in a regular job. You're going to go through pain at some point in your life. So being able to look at that from just a human perspective and say, hey, I went through this experience. It was painful. What can I learn from this to be able to, if not say avoid the pain in the future, know that it's something that I don't like. Or being younger, a lot of it is figuring out what you like, don't like, who you are, who you want to become, the better version of yourself, as I call it. So part of that is, in the future, better near perfect version of you is not going to put themselves in positions that cause them that kind of pain. So again, going back to learning from your experiences, that jumping off of a cliff with no parachute is not a good idea. So, if you did it at 16, it's not a good idea to do it at, 30, 40, or 50. So some of those things, Jim Rohn says very, very eloquently in his speech that, there's people that you tell them, like, hey, don't jump off the ledge. And they'll say, why? Don't hang out with those people. Those people don't learn from their experiences, because if they need to figure out that jumping off the building or the cliff is, then see what happens, they're not in the right state of mind.
I had a law professor my first year in law school telling me, Mr. Meltzer, when I stood up for recitation, don't jump off the cliff. I'll push you, which was a great lesson as well. Right. You seem very principled. And obviously, I believe in real estate. We both have made a fortune in real estate. I've lost a fortune in real estate.
Likewise.
And learned the principles of real estate. What are some of the principles that not only you utilize in life, but apply to real estate?
In life, I would say, and I learned this in real estate first and then applied it to life, is in real estate, it's cash flow, right? Capital that's coming to you, whether you're working, sleeping, eating, vacationing, whatever the case may be. So very early in my real estate career, I learned, and through the mistakes, what is not good cash flow, that I needed more stability, because that cash flow creates stability that gives me more free time to be able to enjoy my life and have the kind of lifestyle I want for myself, my family, and everyone else. So what I was able to learn from that and apply to life was that in life, happiness that you get, or experiences that you get from people, or things that you do, be it yourself or with others, that for me is life cash flow. That's something that you are waking up with, and I believe in abundance. Waking up every day is just in itself an abundance, being able to say, hey, I was chosen today to be able to walk the earth again. Many people don't. So that drove me to not just be very mundane and just kind of stay complacent, do something with my time. So if I wasn't working from when I was younger till now, it's always doing something that I create an experience from, have a memory from, and the older I get, more of that matters, doing it with family. So I'm very, very blessed to be able to have a very close-knit family that's allowed me to have that life cash flow in abundance. So I've got a very big bank account when it comes to life cash flow.
Yeah, no, and I'm right with you. And, these are all pre-pandemic lessons that you've learned. As we go through this pandemic, and we'll call it, pre-vaccine, as we're in here, that's what I like to call it, because I don't think there will be any stability until we have a vaccine. There's be multivariables, and which makes this a very interesting real estate market, by the way. But you seem to have some certain business mantras that you're utilizing during this compressed time of uncertainty or accelerated change. Can you share those with me?
Yeah, the first one that we started out was what we learned during the recession in 2008, and what lasted for us up until 2010, was being able to conserve cash flow. So when you are in a very up or even economy, and you're doing decent, it's very easy to say, we'll commit to this subscription, and it goes to do that once a month. If you do that 12 times a year, those are 12 subscriptions that could be 1,000, 1,200, 2,000, 3,000. Some of them go up to 10, 15,000 a month. Those things we learned in the recession, that a lot of those we took on just to have them, to be able to say, we have this amenity for our employees. We have this coaching, we have this training, et cetera. We didn't need more than one training. We didn't need more than one coaching program for our salespeople. So going through that recession period, we learned very quickly, and again, learned it this time around, that you have to watch your bottom line. You have to watch all these little itty bitty variables that you think don't matter, but when cash flow is not coming in as hefty as it was 6 months ago, those things start to really matter. So that extra 5,000 that you're not looking at, or 500, it adds up.
Yeah, it's amazing. One of my mentors is a guy named Bob Proctor, who you may have studied over the years. And Bob told me, when you get to having 2 years of savings, it opens up so many opportunities for you. And I didn't really understand it until I had the security of being that liquid, being able to make decisions outside of the realm of fear. And I think fear has played an important role in the lessons that I've learned as an investor, as a multitude investor, as I call myself and you, someone that has worked from technology to the wireless space to real estate to other certain investments, as well as you have as well. Where does fear play its role in your decision-making process?
Well, fear is not just in decision-making. For me, it's always been a driver in everything. Fear of failure for me led to working harder than I thought ever possible. So as a very young person, we were just talking about this on the ride here, I started to work, really, if I could go back from the first day in school in America, moving from Pakistan. And what I was selling was I grabbed a whole bunch of pens and knickknacks from my dad's a doctor, and he would came to America, started becoming a doctor again in America. He would go to medical conferences, and he would grab whatever the pharmaceutical companies had at their display booths. So pens, lanyards, hats, whatever they gave out. And he had two boys at home. He would bring it back, and I thought of it as an opportunity. I was like, these are nice looking pens. I don't want to have to ask my dad for money for stuff like shoes, for stuff like this. America is a very expensive country. We didn't already have a lot of money. So fear at that point for me was being able to create something valuable, be it a product, a service, or myself with both of those, and get some capital out of that. If not capital, something that I could utilize to fulfill a need. And that led to now, I would say, as real estate, looking at it, going, I'm not taking pens anymore and medical stuff to give out to kids and sell it, but looking at very, very closely looking at the market fundamentals of where we look to invest. So that's stuff that I didn't do very closely in the very beginning when I was young, because it was all about hype. Hey, Fremont is it's a very hotbed of investment activity right now. You should buy up everything you can. So we went up and bought everything we could. So single family and this and that. Very quickly learned we should have just taken all that money and just bought a 120 unit, building, and we don't have all these issues. Now we've got 16 single family tenants, we've got 24 townhome tenants, and it was just the biggest, debacle coming out of the recession, leading into the recession, looking at it and going, this is not the way to do in the future. So fear now is thinking of those times, not having to deal with all the evictions, not having to deal with all of the absurd attorney's fees. It costs more to pay attorneys to evict somebody. I'd rather just give that to the tenant and say, would you leave, please?
Right.
Let me fix this place up. So fear is a constant driver for me now, looking at everything that I do in real estate with the team and myself very closely. So if it's a deal here in California, we're on the ground within days of finding out about it, and we're walking the concrete, we're walking the pavement, and looking at everything ourselves, talking to tenants if we can in other properties and seeing what the areas like. Would you want to live here? If you moved here, would you want to live at that apartment complex?
Right. I always say reverse engineer your investment as a customer. Mm-hmm. In fact, that's how I got involved in the sports industry. Is I had hired athletes, celebrities, entertainers to speak for appearances, for signings, and all of. Wow. And I paid for sponsorship. I paid for advertising as I was CEO of bigger companies. And actually, when I met Leigh Steinberg, that experience, those skills, capabilities, knowledge, and my desire to work with the most notable sports agency all aligned to give myself this executive opportunity that most people couldn't see how they are intertwined. Speaking of intertwining things, could you list out all the businesses that you're involved with, or most of them? You might have too many to even know.
No.
But one of the big questions for entrepreneur is bandwidth, focus. Dave, how are you involved in so many different things? And I use a spine vertebrae approach, meaning that the things that I'm heavily involved with all are aligned in a spine. They all use the same skills, knowledge, relationships, and desire. And then anything that's a vertebrae, an offshoot, I use channel partnerships to leverage and make a commission or a percentage off of that.
Right.
Can you explain the businesses you're involved with and the strategy that you execute on?
Sure. So primarily, it's always been real estate, or leading into real estate, it was finance. I in high school started a satellite mortgage office from just a office down the street from the high school. Because while I was in high school, I started telemarketing for a mortgage company, and it just had a knack for it. Everybody I spoke to wanted to talk to me and wanted to give me all the information to be able to get them a better rate and this and that. So we were in that until started to realize that we need more cash flow rather than just commission sales, et cetera. And that's the first kind of foray into where I started to do more than just one business, and started to realize that I can leverage more than just sitting there with somebody myself doing business or then with employees, et cetera, is I can do a side business to be able to get more income that way. And that led into more and more and more. But as I, into my later 20s and early 30s, started to come across a lot of opportunities through those partnerships and associates and friends, where we thought, the mantra being, if you can add value, you should. And if you come across something that's beneficial, I see it as my duty to share it with others. So when we came across the hearing aid technology, that was something I thought of past just a capital return, something that would do a lot of good for people out there, comparing prices of what the competition was going to sell at when we launched to what we would. It was 1/3 of the price, same product, if not better, definitely better craftsmanship, and manufactured here in America. So that was something that we wanted to do, to be patriotic and be able to still be in business in something we see growth in, being able to add value. And then from there, it's just being able to, you know this, Dave, you've been doing this a very long time, being able to delegate tasks and projects to the right people. And then coming across those right people is really, I think, a skill and a talent in its own. It's a job in its own, I think. I'm always hunting for skillful, talented people to work with and bring on board. And the more that we see that we're blessed to have them, it's kind of like the, how would you say, the air beneath your wings. It's you just get higher and higher up and see better and better views, and onto better and uncharted territories. So being able to navigate these businesses with real estate, hearing aid technology, and then our hospitality projects that we have, where we are both operators, developers, and owner managers, and then our wireless retail business. And that's something that was the first business I got into in California. We talked about on the podcast a couple weeks ago. That led to, when I exited that company, I was very fortunate to, at a very young age, put all that capital into the finance and real estate industry. So very blessed to enter it with a lot of capital. It wasn't something where I started with like the Carlton Sheets program I used to watch, and it was like, zero money down, you'll get money back at closing. It didn't work out for me that way. I actually had to put money in. And then when the recession came, just like everybody else, the lessons came, and got a PhD in how to do this and a PhD in real estate. And I have like 5 degrees, I think, with that nightmare.
I called it the MBA a day. My wife would say, how things going? I'm getting an MBA a day.
There you go.
This is well worth it. It's the dummy tax.
Mm-hmm.
You think Columbia is expensive. Try 2008.
Oh, man.
But you know what? My ROI is here in 2020 because I'm prepared for a downturn, prepared for compressed uncertainty, prepared for accelerated growth, and all the things that I learned from 2008 and the mistakes and lessons I learned starting in 2006. Cash is a big deal in a common denominator, and a lot of your strategies, mantras, the way that you do business, understanding that relationship to money, which was so important in my own growth, starting out with money buys happiness and love, and learning that, money is really important, but it doesn't buy happiness and love.
Absolutely
It
not.
allows me to shop, though. And a lot of your mantras are about the money allowing you to shop so you can buy the right things or invest in the right things to have more opportunities and options to help more people and have more fun in your life.
Right.
So you and I have a natural synergy and a respect that instantly happened because of your relationship with money. Can you let everyone know what that relationship is and what you've learned about that relationship to money? Because I think a lot of people don't ever identify a relationship with money, and they're making a huge mistake not doing so.
Right, I agree. Not knowing about the relationship to money, as everybody should know about, and how to properly value that relationship. I think one of the key denominators between people that are able to stay consistently successful versus people that hit that one little jump and then it's a wrap are people that the ones that are consistently successful are the ones that respect their relationship with money and know that money needs to work for them and not the other way around. That's something I was very blessed to learn very early on, and never had to really ever see that mindset in myself or allowing anybody around me that allowed me to think any other way. So my relationship with money has always been by way of respect, not more so, like you said, to be able to just buy things, but be able to have a lifestyle for myself and my family where I don't have to work if I don't want to. I mean, I enjoy it. I enjoy it immensely. Not working would drive me crazy, but being able to say, hey, I could take a week off with my family and we could fly somewhere, after a post-vaccine. Or when we fly, we could fly maybe first class. My parents are in their 50s and, we'll be in their 60s one day and 70s.
Wow, his parents are in his 50s. Woo, they must be old.
My parents had me
Did
when
I date
was
your
very
mom? Let's be honest.
So I want to be able to, as they, get into their retirement age and be able to rely on their sons and daughters for things, be able to do that for them. And then past that, just for them, be able to, for the people that we work with, be able to be really good employers, not just, hey, we have some food every now and then that we cater, and we give you guys, 2 weeks off or whatever the case may be in 30 minutes. We really want to be able to say, hey, if there's something that we can add value to your life, and we can do that because we have access to capital, that's why we do it. It's you're not going to go to your grave with all that money. It's not a bury me in the Gucci store song. It's, I want to be buried just like everybody else. But, when I'm buried at my funeral, I want a lot of people to be able to say he was a good guy. He was wealthy, but he was wealthy with a purpose. That's very important.
I'm going to have to take that sport coat off, tear out the pockets like my dad did to mine, so you get a reminder in your closet.
That.
You can't take anything with you when you're gone.
I watched. I was very emotional. Very emotional.
It's true, though. All right,
Yeah.
last thing. Most people ask me, what would I tell my 18, 22, 32, 42-year-old self, go backwards. Life is a practice. Right. I think that you're on the pursuit of your potential. I think you mentioned earlier about, as close to your best self that you can become. Utilizing, that perspective, I'd love to have you tell me something, nobody asked, which is when you're my age, 52 years old or so, what lesson do you think you'll still be practicing learning?
What lesson will I still be practicing learning? That's very interesting. I think the lesson that we all should be still practicing learning is learning itself, right? Warren Buffett had this. I don't know if it was Warren Buffett or somebody else, so I wouldn't want to misquote it. But
it's a good guess, though.
Right? You when you stop learning, you die. So be it 52 or 102. The biggest aspiration everybody should have every day is taking the blessing they have by God that you are awake, you are alive, you are well, and then you have the ability to go out and get something for yourself. Be it knowledge, be it hustle and get some money for yourself. And that lesson that I'm going to still be practicing learning even better and better at 52, at 102, hopefully with better technology, 202. You want to give back for as long as possible, but that lesson is going to be that you should always be looking forward to learning more. There's always more. I got that more idea from a movie I watched. Josh Brolin was asked by Shia LaBeouf, what everybody has a number, I believe. What's your number when you give it up? And Josh replies and goes, more. To me, it wasn't about money when he said more. For me, it was just, I want to learn more so I could do more. I want to be more valuable myself so I could bring more value to the marketplace, like my mentor Jim Rohn said, so I could get paid more for my time. You don't get, how does somebody go at a company from making XYZ money to making twice that the next year? There's politics, sure. There's somebody's in law, this and that. But the majority of it is because they add more value to that company because they themselves are more valuable by what they know and what they can do. So at 52, I want to be able to always practicing this lesson of learning more, getting to my best self as often in the day as possible, reminding myself that I'm still learning. So at that moment where I know it all, it's you got to got to put the brakes on and realize, no, still learning, process in everyday life, and should never stop.
That's awesome. Because you are learning, because you are a young entrepreneur who I love, because you totally symbolize the enjoyment of the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of your own potential, which I love. You vote for what you want, have since you were in high school when you opened your first mortgage company, which is incredible and has continued on through 2008 to 2020. And I can't wait to see what you do further. What's one of your favorite quotes to end the interview? What's one of your favorite quotes?
My favorite quotes. I love this one, and this one is becoming more and more prevalent in my life, is if you come across something that is of value, that could do good to somebody, it is your duty to share it with the world. And why I like that is it doesn't say to share it with people, meaning just a few people, just David and the folks here today, but with everybody. So I took that and have really lived with that since then. And for me, it's always about being able to share value. You do this. You're the king of this, David. I love everything that you're putting out there and inspiring the millions. Is being able to pass just feel good about what you're doing and your lifestyle, is add value to other people's life without expecting something in return. To me, that's just, it feels better than making money. It feels better than winning money. It feels better than finding money. That joy of being able to show somebody that just do this, and you're going to be able to get something for you every single week, every single month, to provide for yourself and your family and have a better quality of life. To me, that gives me a better sense of fulfillment than almost anything else in life.
That is awesome. You are someone that holds by the 4 standards that I teach. Is number 1, you live happily, you live healthy, you live with appreciation, not only with gratitude, but the appreciation meaning your vision is to add value,
Right.
and appreciate everything that you touch, see, and do in a world of more than enough of everything for everyone. And of course, you're full of light, love, and lessons, which is so essential. And I certainly appreciate you coming back on. I had to have you live as my first guest as we open the studio in a healthy, happy atmosphere. You got to check out Rick Mirza. This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook.